Good afternoon. Honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen. Operation here, my great-grandfather started the business back in 1881. My father, Stan, is 96, still going strong. He didn't finish here till he was 90, so there's a lot to be said for keeping working. I've got my children, my brother has his children in, so in the 5th generation there's 5 children, which is lovely for us. The East End has seen many changes. I've been here now 53 years, and I've certainly seen some changes. And one of them is very much a cultural change. When I first started, it was very much a traditional white working class area. Being near the ports, we had many sort of small pockets. We had a small Chinese community, a small Polish community, a small Caribbean community. Like any port in the world, you saw these changes. However, as you all know now, the East End has changed dramatically. It made me laugh when we had the Olympics. And I was watching the news one morning, and a newscaster came on and he said, well, we're going to have 147 countries represented in Newham for these Olympics. And I thought, well, hold on, we can do better than that on a normal day. I don't know where he came up with that. My history, or the company's history, I should say, with the Ugandan community goes back some 40 years. As you are all well aware, in the early 80s, AIDS, HIV raised its head, and Uganda was severely hit. And there was quite an influx of Ugandans coming into the UK for 3 main reasons. There was those that were more enlightened and knew that coming here and having full-blown AIDS, they would at least be treated and could be there was no cure back then, there was no way of suppressing it, there's no cure today, but at least we're in control of it. So that was one reason. There was those that was less enlightened and thought there was a cure here and came, and there was that came here because of a social stigma. There was a social stigma around AIDS in its time. And I got involved in the very early days, and primarily through the Ugandan Asylum Seekers Association. We was probably one of the few funeral directors at the time that just cracked on and did our job. If someone came to us, families came to us, and we had to deal with a case, it was AIDS, we still carried on with the traditional washing, dressings, and the repatriation. Back in the day, I can say it now because it's past, but back in the day you had to have a free from infection certificate and you wouldn't have got out. So I think we sort of worded it in such a way that it wouldn't pose the rest of the carrier the way we've done things. So we sort of got round the law a bit. But the long and the short of it is, we was able to still repatriate. And as you folks in here are probably fully aware, first generation, not just Ugandans, but Africans in general, when they pass away here, the wish to be buried at home is very strong. Not so much with the second generation. We've gone one stage further on in recent years with Pauline and Bossa's help. We've learned a lot more about the culture. We're able to bring a lot more to the table as regards arranging a traditional funeral. And the traditional part to me is really important. As some of you would have heard when I was up in our museum, you can study a society in the way that it treats its dead. And it is so important to keep your cultural side going, which, brings us on to the club eventually. Because once we've lost that bit of our culture, where does it all stop? You're living in the diaspora here, that you should never forget where you come from and your roots. There's some ladies here that I worked with during the course in the funeral trade, and today in our culture we have